Welcome to Zoe Stories. It started as a joke, but now I don't even recognize myself. I never imagined a simple joke could spiral into something that changed my life so completely. It all started one quiet evening in my small apartment, the kind of evening that usually ended with me binge-watching random videos or scrolling aimlessly through my phone. My name is Ethan, I'm 24, and on the surface, I'm just an ordinary guy, working in a marketing firm, keeping a small circle of friends, and dating Mia, a woman whose energy and beauty made my head spin from the moment we met. But beneath that ordinary exterior lies a secret, one I hadn't admitted to anyone, not even her. Mia and I had a dynamic that was both comforting and intoxicating. She was playful, teasing, always challenging me in ways that left me simultaneously flustered and exhilarated. Our relationship was young, full of sparks and laughter, but I'd always sensed she had a knack for spotting vulnerabilities, even the ones I tried to hide. And that was precisely what made me cautious. There were things about me, desires and curiosities, that I hadn't shared, things that I'd brushed off as fantasies or harmless experiments. It wasn't that I had a burning obsession with cross-dressing from childhood. No, it was more subtle. I had experimented once or twice when alone, curious about how it felt to step into a different persona, to feel softer edges, different confidence. Those moments were private, fleeting, and always cloaked in guilt afterward. Until that night. The evening had started innocuously enough. Mia had gone out to meet her friends, leaving me alone with the apartment. I sat on the couch, half-heartedly flipping through channels, when a message from her popped up. "I dare you try it. Just once. I'll be back in an hour. Prove me wrong." I paused, my thumb hovering over the screen. It was a joke. She always had a way of tossing playful challenges that made my heart race, and I felt a surge of daring curiosity. Could I really do it? I glanced around the apartment. It was tidy, cozy, a small haven where no one could see me. My heart beat faster as I opened my closet, the shelves lined with neatly folded clothes. And then I spotted it. A dress Mia had jokingly left behind from a costume party she'd attended months ago. It was elegant, black, and soft, shimmering slightly under the warm light of the room. My pulse quickened. I hesitated. What if I got caught? What would Mia think if she walked in and saw me in this dress? But at the same time, a thrill surged through me, something electric and irresistible. This wasn't just about a joke anymore. It was about stepping into something new, exploring a side of myself that had always lurked in shadows. I slipped into the dress, the fabric cool against my skin. The sensation was strange at first, foreign, almost alien, but also undeniably thrilling. I examined myself in the mirror, noticing the subtle curves that the dress accentuated. The sight startled me, a mixture of fear and fascination tightening in my chest. I had never seen myself like this, not even in fleeting fantasies. My reflection seemed both familiar and completely unknown. Next came the makeup. Mia had a small kit in the bathroom, foundation, eyeliner, lipstick, a whole arsenal of transformation. My hand shook slightly as I applied it, clumsy at first, but gradually I began to see the changes. The face staring back at me was different, softer, more alluring. My lips, now painted a deep rose, felt strangely sensual. My eyes, outlined delicately, seemed to hold a new depth, a vulnerability I hadn't realized I possessed. And then came the shoes, heels that made me wobble unsteadily at first, forcing me to adjust my posture. Walking across the room, I felt the subtle power shift. Each step brought a new awareness of my body, a rhythm that was foreign yet intoxicating. The mirror became a portal, reflecting a persona that was both me and not me, a version of myself I never thought I'd inhabit. As I stood there, mesmerized by my reflection, a wave of guilt mingled with excitement washed over me. This was supposed to be a joke, something temporary, harmless. But something inside me whispered that it wasn't just a dare anymore. It was a revelation, a glimpse into a part of myself I hadn't dared to explore. Time passed unnoticed. The apartment was silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional car passing outside. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Mia. Back in 5. Are you brave enough? My stomach twisted. The thrill I had felt moments ago was now tangled with anxiety. Could I maintain this illusion for just a few more minutes? Or would my secret be exposed in an instant? I caught one last glimpse of myself in the mirror. The person staring back wasn't entirely me, yet not entirely a stranger either. The dress, the makeup, the heels, they weren't just clothes. They were symbols of a transformation I couldn't easily reverse. And in that moment, I realized something that both terrified and exhilarated me. I didn't want to change back, not yet. The door clicked open and I froze. Mia's laugh floated down the hallway, light and teasing, oblivious to the storm of emotions churning inside me. I took a deep breath, adjusting the dress, steadying my wobbling balance on the heels, and forced a smile, ready to meet her eyes. Whatever happened next, I knew one thing for certain. This joke had started a journey I couldn't ignore. And just like that, the line between playfulness and reality blurred, leaving me teetering on the edge of discovery and desire, excitement and fear. That night marked the beginning of a transformation far deeper than a dress and makeup could ever convey. The moment the door clicked behind me, a rush of adrenaline surged through my body. But it wasn't Mia who had entered. It was the sound of the neighbor downstairs, fiddling with the staircase, footsteps echoing unnervingly through the building. My heels clicked sharply against the floor as I paced, each step amplifying the strange rhythm of anticipation. I barely recognized myself in the mirror this time. The reflection wasn't just someone wearing a dress. It was a completely new persona, bold, defiant, and strangely confident, but every movement carried a twinge of vulnerability. I took a deep breath and let my eyes roam over the reflection, tracing the contours of my transformed face. The makeup shimmered under the overhead light, highlighting the cheekbones I never knew I had. My hair, carefully styled, fell perfectly around my shoulders, framing the unfamiliar face staring back at me. And yet, there was a pull, a magnetic curiosity drawing me deeper into this new identity. I realized that I wasn't just trying on a disguise anymore. I was stepping into a version of myself I had never dared to explore. But then a sudden thought froze me mid-step. The sound of footsteps approaching? My heart pounded violently. I crouched behind the couch for a moment, clutching the skirt of the dress, the fabric soft against my trembling fingers. The suspense was overwhelming. Every nerve in my body screamed caution, but at the same time, a daring thrill coursed through me. This was what I had been craving, even without knowing it. The intoxicating tension of being exposed, the delicious risk of discovery. I peeked through the corner of the mirror. Shadows danced across the room as the lights from the street outside flickered against the blinds. The city felt alive, pulsating with energy, and yet my world had shrunk to this tiny, tense bubble. My breathing slowed, trying to steady the rapid rhythm, as I reminded myself that I could control this. I was in control. At least, I told myself. Then I heard it, the faintest click from the hallway. A package had been left outside my door, now sliding slowly across the floor, as if guided by some unseen hand. I froze, a surge of panic mixing with curiosity. My reflection stared back at me, soft, feminine, bold, and trembling all at once. I realized that the persona I had created was more than skin deep. It carried a new awareness, a heightened sensitivity to every sound, every shadow. Every small movement in the apartment felt monumental, like the world outside had disappeared and only this fragile, suspended reality existed. I approached the package cautiously, my heels making soft, deliberate taps against the floor. The dress clung to my movements, swaying slightly with each step, the fabric whispering against my legs. Hands shaking, I picked it up and noticed a small note taped to it. Curiosity overtook fear. I opened it carefully, revealing a playful scrawl from Mia. Saw this on sale and thought of you, can't wait to see you try it. My heart lurched. She had no idea what I was wearing right now. The irony was delicious and terrifying. I sank to the floor, package in hand, and let my mind wander. The adrenaline, the thrill, the overwhelming mix of fear and excitement. It was addictive. I could feel the persona I had adopted solidifying further, like a second skin I didn't want to shed. Every brush of fabric, every adjustment of makeup, every tilt of my head in the mirror reinforced the duality of who I was becoming. Ethan was still there, but he was no longer the only version of me. Then, instinctively, I noticed the clock. Mia would be back any minute. The thought sent a shock through me, igniting every nerve. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Should I hide? Should I change? Or should I stay? The reflection staring back at me seemed to smirk knowingly, as if daring me to take the risk. And I realized, with a mix of fear and exhilaration, that I wanted to stay. I wanted to be seen like this, even if only for a fleeting moment. I practiced walking, moving slowly from one end of the room to the other, testing the sway of my hips and heels, the subtle curve of my posture. Each step was deliberate, careful, but with a hidden boldness that thrilled me. The reflection in the mirror seemed to encourage me, coaxing me deeper into this persona. And yet, the suspense remained. Every sound, the creak of the floorboards, the rustle of the curtains in the breeze, felt amplified. It was as if the world had contracted to this one room, this one moment, this one transformation. Suddenly, a sharp knock on the door made me jump. My body froze. My reflection widened its eyes, mirroring my panic. The knock came again, insistent, closer this time. My mind raced. Who could it be? Mia? Or someone else? Every scenario flashed before me. Embarrassment, judgment, mockery. But beneath it all, a spark of daring ignited. I realized that part of me wanted to face this challenge head-on, to prove that I could inhabit this persona fully, fear and all. I tiptoed to the door, taking a deep, steadying breath. The heels clicked softly on the floor, the dress swaying lightly with each step. I peeked through the peephole. Empty hallway. My pulse slowed slightly, but only for a moment. The tension remained, a constant, thrilling undercurrent that made every nerve in my body hum. I realized then that this suspense, the risk of being discovered, was now inseparable from the excitement of transformation. It wasn't just about wearing the dress or the makeup anymore. It was about inhabiting a new reality, one filled with risk, thrill, and possibility. As I returned to the center of the room, I caught my reflection again. The eyes staring back at me were alive, alert, daring. The persona I had created wasn't just skin-deep anymore. It had a life of its own. My heart swelled with a mix of pride, fear, and anticipation. This was the edge I had always sought without knowing it, the fine line between who I was and who I could become. And I realized with a shiver that once I crossed it completely, there was no turning back. The night stretched ahead, full of possibility, full of danger, full of exhilaration. And as the city lights flickered against the blinds, I whispered to my reflection, almost reverently, "Let's see how far this can go." The city outside was alive with distant sirens and the hum of traffic, but inside, my world had narrowed to this single room, this fragile, electric moment. Every fiber of my being was alert, every sense heightened. The dress swayed lightly as I paced, the heels forcing me to adjust my posture with careful precision. I felt more aware of my body than I ever had, every movement amplified, every sound sharper, every shadow more menacing. I reached for Mia's lipstick again, almost compulsively. Applying a fresh layer, I noticed the subtle curve of my lips, the way the color deepened under the warm light. My reflection, this new persona, was mesmerizing. I couldn't stop staring. There was something addictive about it, something that made the previous warnings, the thoughts of shame or embarrassment, fade into the background. But beneath the allure, a knot of anxiety twisted tighter in my chest. What if this persona was no longer just a game? Suddenly, the sound of the elevator in the building made me jump. Footsteps approached the hallway, deliberate, slow. Panic surged. My reflection widened its eyes in silent warning. I considered ducking behind the furniture, changing back into Ethan, but a part of me resisted. The thrill, the danger, the intoxicating tension, it was all too tempting. I stayed rooted, holding my breath, listening as the footsteps paused just outside my door. A knock followed, soft but insistent. My pulse leapt. Could it be Mia? I crouched behind the couch, the fabric brushing my arms, my heels clicking softly against the floor in the tension of the movement. The knock came again. I swallowed hard. The persona I had embraced, the bold, daring version of me, whispered to take a chance. And for reasons I couldn't fully explain, I decided not to hide. I slowly approached the door, moving as lightly as possible, my reflection in the hallway mirror catching my eye. My posture, the sway of my hips, the tilt of my head, it all screamed confidence. Yet inside, I was trembling. The door creaked slightly as I opened it a fraction, peeking through the gap. A neighbor, a woman from the floor above, held a package and looked at me curiously. Relief and embarrassment mingled in a rush. I accepted the parcel with trembling hands, forcing a polite smile, and closed the door quickly. Back in the room, my heartbeat was wild, my mind racing. The near discovery had made everything more real. My reflection seemed to mock me playfully. You can't hide from this part of yourself now. The truth hit me. This wasn't a simple dare or a joke anymore. I was venturing into territory that blurred the line between fantasy and reality, between who I had been and who I wanted or needed to be. I moved to the mirror, carefully adjusting my hair and dress. The persona was becoming more fluid, more natural. I experimented with expressions, smiles, and subtle glances, practicing how I might appear if Mia walked in at any moment. Every flick of my wrist, every tilt of my head, every shift of my weight in the heels was a rehearsal, a delicate balance between control and surrender. And then something unexpected happened. I noticed a small slip. The hem of the dress had caught on a corner of the rug. My hands darted to fix it, but in that brief motion, the reflection seemed to shimmer in the mirror, as if mocking my clumsiness. The tiny imperfection, the vulnerability, made me acutely aware of how precarious this persona truly was. One misstep, one slip, one knock at the wrong moment, and everything could unravel. The adrenaline surged again, and with it, a strange exhilaration. I felt alive in ways I never had before, every nerve buzzing with heightened sensitivity. The reflection wasn't just someone else, it was me, amplified, transformed, and daring. I began experimenting further, adjusting the dress here, flicking the wig there, testing my balance on the heels, moving in small arcs to see how the light caught the makeup and hair. Every motion was calculated, precise, yet infused with a daring playfulness. Hours seemed to pass in moments. The suspense, the thrill, the intoxicating tension, it all merged into a surreal haze. I could feel myself slipping deeper into the persona, the lines between Ethan and this new identity blurring. I laughed softly, a high, airy sound that startled me at first. It felt alien, yet natural, like a hidden part of me finally emerging. Then, without warning, the sound of keys jingling in the hallway pierced through the room. My breath caught. Mia. She was back. My mind raced. Should I run, hide, pretend to be Ethan? Or should I stay, embrace the persona fully, and face whatever reaction she had in store? My reflection stared back, smirking, daring me to take the risk. I took a deep breath, steadied my heels, and moved toward the door, every step deliberate. The dress clung to my curves, the wig framed my face perfectly, the makeup highlighted every subtle feature. I wasn't just wearing a costume anymore. I was embodying a new self, a daring, vulnerable, thrilling version of me that I hadn't known existed. The door opened slowly, and I caught a glimpse of Mia's familiar smile, playful and teasing. My heart pounded, my mind raced, but a part of me felt ready. Ready to be seen, ready to embrace this persona, ready to risk everything for the exhilaration of discovery. The thrill, the suspense, the tension, it was intoxicating. And I knew, in that moment, that there was no going back. The moment Mia stepped inside, my pulse skyrocketed. The playful grin on her face told me she had no idea what had been happening, and yet I couldn't shake the trembling thrill coursing through me. My heels clicked softly as I moved toward her, each step deliberate, each sway of my hips amplifying the new rhythm that had taken over my body. The dress clung to me in all the right places, my chest rising slightly with each breath, my makeup accentuating features I had never considered delicate before. Her eyes flicked up and down, scanning me, and for a moment, I thought she might notice something, some subtle detail that betrayed my secret. I forced a small smile, tilting my head just enough to seem casual. The reflection in the hallway mirror caught my motion, and I studied myself, someone bold, fragile, and intoxicating all at once. The thrill of almost being discovered gnawed at my nerves, but it also ignited something deeper. The exhilaration of being seen, of existing fully in this new persona, even if only for a fleeting moment. I followed her into the kitchen, careful with my steps. The heels forced me to adjust my posture in ways I never had before, hips swaying subtly, back straighter, shoulders lighter. Every movement was deliberate, a dance between confidence and vulnerability. Mia hummed absent-mindedly, unaware, and I felt a pang of fear mingled with longing. If she discovered me now, would she laugh, tease, reject, or understand? The question lingered, teasing and torturing me simultaneously. I busied myself with the package she had brought, pretending to inspect it while my mind raced. The persona I had embraced was no longer a simple experiment. It was evolving, becoming more natural, more seductive, more dangerous. My fingers lingered on the fabric, the texture familiar yet foreign. I caught myself glancing in the mirror again, watching the persona stare back with a confidence I didn't fully feel but was beginning to inhabit. Then, a small disaster struck, a misstep with the heels, a slip of the dress as I bent to open the package, and I froze. My heart pounded, every muscle tense. Would she notice? Would this be the moment everything unraveled? But Mia only laughed lightly, distracted by her phone. Relief washed over me, but so did a rush of adrenaline. The tiny near miss made the stakes tangible. The tension wasn't just in my mind anymore, it was alive, present, and dangerous. I caught a glimpse of a fallen earring on the floor, one of Mia's delicate dangling pieces I had carelessly knocked over. My reflection in the mirror seemed to mock me, reminding me of how fragile this persona was. Carefully, I crouched to pick it up, the dress riding slightly higher than intended. Every motion was a test, a negotiation between control and vulnerability. The thrill, the fear, the forbidden pleasure, it all merged into a heady, intoxicating cocktail. Mia looked up suddenly, sensing my presence. "Everything okay?" she asked, her tone light but curious. I nodded, forcing a smile, my hands clutching the earring tightly. The reflection in the mirror stared back with unspoken warning. One wrong move, one slip, and the secret could explode. I adjusted the wig, brushed a stray hair back, and tilted my head in an almost imperceptible gesture, as if to signal that I was still in control. The tension built further when her phone rang, and she stepped into the living room to take the call. I was alone again, my reflection staring at me, and I felt the thrill of freedom mingle with fear. I could explore more, adjust the dress, apply a touch more makeup, even practice expressions in the mirror. The persona was fluid now, fully inhabiting my movements, yet I knew it was still fragile, still vulnerable to discovery. I experimented with my posture, walking slowly across the room, feeling the sway of the dress, the weight of the heels. The mirror reflected a confident, daring version of me, one that Ethan had never allowed to exist. The persona wasn't just about the exterior anymore. It carried a strange empowerment, a sense of liberation that frightened me as much as it thrilled me. Then, without warning, the doorbell rang. My heart skipped a beat. Another unexpected visitor? Was Mia on the other line? Or someone else entirely? Panic surged through me, sharp and thrilling. I froze, every nerve alive, my reflection in the mirror holding my gaze as if daring me to react. Should I answer? Hide? Change? Or embrace the persona fully and see what happened? The seconds stretched into eternity. Every sound, the hum of the city, The faint creak of the floorboards, the ticking of the clock, felt magnified. I realized that the suspense was no longer external, it had merged with my internal transformation. The thrill of cross-dressing, the vulnerability, the almost perilous exhilaration of being discovered, it was intoxicating. I could feel it in my chest, in my stomach, in every quiver of my body. Slowly, deliberately, I approached the door. The heels clicked softly, the dress swaying, the wig perfectly in place. I peered through the peephole. Empty hallway. Relief surged, followed almost immediately by a pang of disappointment. The suspense had disappeared for now. But the experience had changed something in me. The persona I had embraced wasn't just a costume. It was an awakening. As I turned back to the mirror, I caught the reflection of someone fully alive, fully present, and thrillingly vulnerable. The persona had taken root, demanding attention, respect, and daring me to explore further. I smiled softly, a shiver of excitement running down my spine. The night wasn't over. The suspense wasn't over. And neither was my transformation. The city lights flickered through the blinds, painting long streaks of gold across the floor. My reflection glimmered back at me, and I realized with a jolt that I could hardly remember who Ethan was anymore. This persona, delicate, daring, exposed, had taken over completely. Every subtle sway of my hips, every tilt of my head, every soft smile in the mirror reinforced it. The thrill of transformation was no longer just about the clothes or makeup, it was about inhabiting someone entirely new. A sudden noise made me freeze, the faint rattle of keys outside the door. My heart pounded violently, a drumbeat of panic and exhilaration.
Mia.
My mind raced. Should I stay frozen in this persona, risking discovery, or revert to Ethan before she entered? But the reflection in the mirror dared me, taunted me. You can't hide now. This is who you are, even if just for tonight. The door opened, and Mia stepped inside, carrying a bag of groceries. My heels clicked softly as I moved toward her, each step deliberate, each sway of my hips rehearsed, yet natural. The dress hugged my curves, the wig framed my face perfectly, and my makeup highlighted the features I had come to admire. I forced a casual smile, my heart hammering in my chest. Every second felt amplified, the tension nearly unbearable. "Hey, you've been busy, huh?" Mia said, glancing around. Her tone was playful, but I could sense curiosity underneath. My mind raced. Had she noticed the subtle differences, the daring new confidence, the way I carried myself? I shrugged lightly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear, pretending to be calm. The reflection in the mirror gave me a smug, almost mischievous look, as if it knew the danger I was flirting with. I busied myself unpacking the groceries, but my movements were meticulous, almost theatrical. The dress swayed with each step, the heels forcing a subtle rhythm into my stride. The persona had become fluid now, each motion confident, daring, and hypnotically feminine. My hands trembled slightly as I reached for a jar, but I forced calm, knowing every micro-movement could betray me. Then came a small disaster. The wig shifted slightly, slipping over my forehead. Panic surged, but I caught it quickly, brushing it back in a motion that seemed casual. Mia glanced my way, raising an eyebrow. I smiled nervously, praying she didn't notice. My reflection smirked, daring me to maintain composure. "Almost there. Don't falter." The tension mounted further when her phone buzzed on the counter. She stepped away to answer it, leaving me alone in the center of the room. My reflection stared back, confident yet vulnerable, a mirror of the persona I had built over the past hours. I adjusted the dress, straightened the wig, and tested a small, practiced smile. The thrill of almost being discovered was intoxicating. The stakes had never felt higher. A sudden knock at the door shattered my fragile calm. My heart leapt. Another visitor? Or Mia returning sooner than expected? I froze, the dress clinging to me, the heels forcing careful balance. My mind raced. Should I answer? Hide? Or embrace this moment fully and see where it led? The reflection in the mirror seemed alive, almost sentient, urging me to risk everything. I edged toward the door, every nerve alive, feeling the weight of the heels and the sway of the dress as I moved. Peeking through the peephole, I saw a delivery person holding another package. Relief mixed with exhilaration. One wrong move, one misstep, and the secret could have been exposed, but for now, I was safe. The tension alone had heightened every sensation. The brush of fabric against my legs, the soft click of my heels, the smooth texture of the wig. I felt more alive than I ever had. Returning to the center of the room, I caught the reflection again. The persona was now fully embodied. This wasn't just a disguise or a game. It was a version of me I couldn't ignore. Every subtle adjustment of the dress, every tilt of the head, every curve accentuated by the heels reinforced the thrill, the vulnerability, and the intoxicating confidence. I realized that the risk of discovery, the near misses, and the suspense had merged with self-discovery. They were inseparable. The adrenaline surged again as Mia returned, carrying the second package. Her eyes flicked over me briefly, her smile teasing. "You've been busy," she said again, a hint of suspicion in her tone. My hands trembled as I accepted the package, my fingers brushing hers. The sensation was electric. My reflection caught the subtle flush creeping up my neck, the heightened awareness of my body, the way the heels forced a delicate posture. I was exposed, yet empowered. Then came a symbolic moment that froze me. A small, silver hairpin slipped from the wig, clattering to the floor. My heart stopped. Mia glanced down, her curiosity piqued. I bent to pick it up, the dress riding slightly higher than intended, the reflection in the mirror holding my gaze with unflinching intensity. Every second felt like an eternity. The duality of fear and thrill, vulnerability and power, had reached its peak. I straightened slowly, holding the hairpin in my fingers, my pulse racing. Mia's gaze lingered for a moment, then she turned away, seemingly distracted. Relief washed over me, but the tension didn't fade. It had transformed into something deeper, a knowledge that this persona, this daring version of myself, wasn't going away. It had roots now, intertwined with every thrill, every risk, every heartbeat. As I glanced in the mirror one last time before the night's end, I saw someone both familiar and unrecognizable. Someone daring, exposed, alive. The persona had taken over completely, and the suspense had sharpened every sense, every feeling, every thought. I knew that what awaited next, the climax, would push me even further. The build-up had reached its peak. Every thrill, every near discovery, every heartbeat had led to this point. The night, the suspense, the transformation, it was all converging, and there was no turning back. The knock on the door shattered my fragile calm. My heart lurched violently as I froze in the center of the room. Every nerve was alive, every muscle taut, the heels pressing into my feet reminding me with sharp insistence of how exposed I was. The persona in the mirror stared back, daring me to confront the unknown, and for a moment, I wasn't sure if I wanted to answer. The door creaked open slowly. A figure stepped inside, not Mia, not the neighbor, but someone entirely unexpected, Marco, a colleague who occasionally dropped by to return office files. His eyes widened as they landed on me, lingering on the dress, the makeup, the heels. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed to freeze. "Oh, wow," he stammered, struggling to find words. My mind raced, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Panic, exhilaration, embarrassment, they all collided into a dizzying mix. Should I explain? Hide? Laugh it off? But the reflection in the mirror remained steady, unblinking, almost taunting me to embrace the situation fully. I can explain," I murmured, my voice slightly higher than normal, betraying the thrill and tension. My hands fidgeted with the hem of the dress, tugging slightly, adjusting subtly, as if the movement could somehow control the chaos building around me. Marco's gaze was locked on me, wide-eyed, curiosity battling disbelief. This is really you?" His words were a whisper, but they felt like a hammer strike. I nodded slowly, unsure if this was bravery or folly. The heels beneath my feet felt like instruments of danger, balancing me precariously between exposure and empowerment. Every step, every glance, every flick of the wrist carried weight. I was no longer just Ethan. I was the persona I had crafted, alive, exposed, vulnerable, and electrifying. Marco took a hesitant step forward. I mean, I've never seen, you like this before, his voice trembled. My heart raced, every muscle alert, the tension suffocating and exhilarating all at once. I could feel my pulse in my throat, in my fingertips, in the heels pressing against the floor. I'm experimenting, I admitted finally, my voice steadier now, almost seductively so. The persona had taken over completely. Fear mixed with thrill, each heartbeat amplifying the intoxicating sense of danger. Marco blinked, clearly unsure how to react, his surprise evident but tinged with a strange fascination. And then, the real danger arrived, the unexpected sound of keys in the lock downstairs.
Mia.
Panic surged instantly. My mind raced. Should I freeze? Hide? Run? The reflection in the mirror gave a subtle nod, urging me to stand tall, to embrace the persona, no matter the consequences. Mia's back, Marco said softly, a note of concern in his voice. I felt the persona's pulse quicken, the thrill and fear merging into a sharp, delicious tension. Every instinct screamed caution, every nerve screamed excitement. The moment had arrived, the point of no return. I stepped closer to Marco, hands trembling slightly but controlled, testing the balance between vulnerability and command. You can't say anything, okay? I whispered, my voice low, almost conspiratorial. He nodded, wide-eyed, clearly understanding the unspoken rules. The doorknob rattled. My chest tightened. Mia's shadow fell across the room, her silhouette visible in the faint light filtering through the window. My heart slammed against my ribs, my heels threatening to betray me with each rapid heartbeat. Every second felt eternal. The suspense was unbearable, sharp as a blade. I glanced at the mirror one last time. My reflection was fearless, beautiful, commanding. The persona was fully alive, unyielding, daring me to take the risk, to confront the ultimate challenge. I inhaled deeply, steeling myself. And then, as Mia stepped fully into the room, her eyes widening slightly at the sight before her, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. Everything, the persona, the transformation, the tension, the thrill, the fear, collapsed into a single, sharp, electric instant. I realized, with a shiver, that nothing would ever be the same again. Mia froze in the doorway, her eyes wide, scanning every detail. The room seemed to shrink around me, my heart hammering as the heels pressed sharply into the floor. Marco stood frozen beside me, silent, unsure, his presence both a comfort and an additional threat. I could feel the persona fully alive now, each inch of my body radiating confidence, vulnerability, and danger all at once. Ethan, or? Mia's voice faltered, caught between curiosity and confusion. My mind raced, but the persona whispered, daring me to remain steady, to own this moment completely. I straightened, heels clicking softly, the dress hugging me perfectly, the wig in place, makeup flawless. Every detail screamed the boldness I had cultivated over hours of transformation. Yes, it's me, I admitted, my voice low but steady, betraying just enough of the thrill coursing through me. The reflection in the mirror caught my gaze. It was me, but not me, a daring, electrifying version that refused to be hidden. My pulse throbbed in my throat as I watched Mia process the scene before her. Her eyes flicked from me to Marco and back, a mixture of shock, amusement, and disbelief painting her expression. I didn't know, she whispered, almost to herself. The words ignited a fresh wave of adrenaline. The risk of exposure, the thrill of discovery, it was all so sharp, so intoxicating. Marco's eyes darted nervously between us, clearly unsure how to react. I didn't mean to intrude, he stammered. But my focus was entirely on Mia now. This was the moment the persona had been building toward, the ultimate test, the edge of fear and exhilaration, the precipice of revelation. Mia stepped closer, her curiosity overtaking initial shock. "You've changed," she said softly, almost reverently. My reflection in the mirror mirrored the same tension I felt, bold, exposed, and alive. Every inch of me vibrated with the suspense of this encounter, the risk of judgment, the thrill of daring to exist fully in this new form. A sudden sound from the hallway made me freeze. The mailman had dropped something, the clatter startling us all. My heels shifted slightly, the dress swaying with emotion, and my reflection caught the movement perfectly, a flicker of vulnerability in an otherwise composed persona. Mia's gaze followed the subtle shift, a hint of concern or curiosity in her expression. I swallowed hard, adjusting the wig with delicate fingers. I wanted to try this, to explore. My voice faltered for a heartbeat, betraying the mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing through me. The persona was fully embodied, yet the tension was unbearable. Every glance, every movement, every breath felt magnified in the charged air of the room. Mia's eyes softened slightly, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "It's different. But I think I understand," she said, her tone teasing yet accepting. Relief and a strange rush of triumph coursed through me. The suspense had not vanished, though. It had transformed into a thrilling dance between exposure and understanding. Marco cleared his throat awkwardly. "I should probably go," he muttered, clearly feeling like a third wheel in this charged moment. I nodded slightly, the heels forcing deliberate balance as I moved toward him. "Yeah, thanks for coming," I whispered, the persona carrying authority now, a daring confidence I had never known. Once the door closed, the room felt impossibly small, the air thick with tension and exhilaration. Mia stepped closer, her gaze curious, playful, and tinged with admiration. "So, what happens now?" she asked, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. My reflection smirked back, daring me to embrace the answer, to dive deeper into this thrilling, risky reality. I took a deep breath, steadying the heels beneath me. "Now we see how far this goes," I whispered, the persona fully alive, bold and unflinching. The mirror reflected not just a transformed figure, but a transformed mind, a daring willingness to risk everything for the thrill, the vulnerability, and the liberation of inhabiting this new identity. A sudden creak from the floorboards sent a jolt through me. The suspense was far from over. Every shadow, every sound, every flicker of movement could betray us. My pulse raced as I realized the night was far from over. The persona, the thrill, the risk, the exposure, it all demanded to be tested further. Mia tilted her head, curious and playful, her eyes locking onto mine. "I think this is going to be interesting," she murmured. My reflection nodded back, eyes sparkling with exhilaration, daring, and defiance. The persona was no longer just an experiment. It was alive, insistent, commanding attention, and ready for whatever came next. The tension, the suspense, the thrill, they were intoxicating, sharp, and unrelenting. The persona had taken over completely, and the night was poised on the knife edge of revelation. Every heartbeat, every glance, every movement was a countdown to the ultimate moment, the point where fear, excitement, and transformation collided. And as the room settled into a tense quiet, the mirror reflecting every curve, every tilt of the head, every flicker of expression, I realized the truth. There was no turning back. The suspense had reached its peak, the persona was unstoppable, and the next moments would define everything. The room felt impossibly small, every shadow a threat, every sound amplified. Mia's curious gaze lingered on me, her playful smile now mixed with a trace of something unreadable, suspicion, fascination, or maybe both. I felt my pulse spike, my reflection in the mirror capturing the full intensity of the moment. The heels forced my balance, the dress hugged me tightly, The wig framed my face perfectly. I was exposed, bold, and utterly vulnerable. And then the doorbell rang. My chest constricted. Mia's head turned toward the sound, and I could see the flicker of concern in her eyes. The knock of reality slammed into my fantasy. Who could it be now? Another neighbor? The delivery that had arrived late? Or someone who would shatter this carefully constructed illusion? Before either of us could react, Marco muttered, "I think I should go maybe." His voice trailed off, tense. But I couldn't let him leave.
Not now.
Not when the persona had been tested to its limits. "Wait," I whispered, my voice trembling slightly but carrying the boldness of the persona. "Stay." The door creaked open, revealing not a stranger, but someone I least expected, Mia's younger brother, Leo. His eyes went wide as he took in the scene. The dress, the makeup, the heels, and me, frozen mid-motion. My heart lurched violently. Panic surged, but the persona whispered daringly, "Stand tall. Own it." "Ethan?" Leo's voice was uncertain, a mix of shock and curiosity. I could feel the persona gripping me like a lifeline. My reflection smirked in the mirror, eyes blazing with defiance and allure. Every second stretched into eternity. One wrong move, one slip, one whispered word, and the secret could explode. I took a deliberate step forward, heels clicking softly against the floor. "It's me," I said firmly, letting the persona speak through my tone, my posture, my every movement. The mirror reflected the full transformation, bold, daring, unflinching, alive. Mia's reaction was instantaneous. Her eyes narrowed slightly, curiosity now edged with caution. "Leo, wait," she murmured, but it was too late. The tension had already ignited. Leo stepped closer, his gaze fixed on me.
I didn't know," he stammered.
The words hung in the air, heavy with disbelief. My pulse pounded, and every nerve felt electric. I had never been so exposed, so vulnerable, and yet so alive. The persona had completely taken over, and there was no turning back. Suddenly, a loud thud came from the balcony. A trash can tipped over, hitting the railing. The sound startled all three of us. I swayed slightly in my heels, catching myself just in time. My reflection in the mirror winked at me mockingly, almost caught. The persona's thrill surged higher, intoxicating and dangerous. Mia's voice cut through the tension. "Ethan, what is happening?" Her tone was calm but firm, demanding answers, yet tinged with fascination. I swallowed, gripping the edges of the dress, feeling its texture grounding me in the midst of chaos. I wanted to explore, to see who I could be, I admitted, voice low but unwavering. The persona exhaled through my words, carrying the daring confidence that had taken hours to cultivate. Leo took another step, closer still. You look different. Beautiful, but..." His hesitation made my heart hammer. The suspense had escalated beyond my control. One wrong word, one shocked reaction, and the secret, the delicate balance between who I was and who I had become, could shatter instantly. I glanced at the mirror. My reflection was alive, daring me to continue, to embrace the chaos. The dress, the heels, the makeup, the persona, they were no longer tools of disguise. They were extensions of my bold, vulnerable, exhilarating self. I stepped slightly forward, tilting my head in a subtle challenge, forcing the moment to stretch, to hang in the air like a live wire. Then the unexpected happened. Mia's phone buzzed, and her attention shifted. She glanced down at the screen, distracted. The brief lapse gave me a moment to breathe, to gather my composure. I adjusted the wig, smoothed the dress, and let a tiny, controlled smile flicker across my lips. The thrill of survival, the intoxicating fear of discovery, and the heady rush of empowerment mingled in a dizzying surge of adrenaline. Leo's gaze softened, curiosity replacing shock. "It's kind of amazing," he admitted, the words trembling but genuine. Mia's eyes flicked up from the phone, meeting mine, her expression unreadable. The suspense didn't vanish. It had transformed into a delicate, dangerous dance between exposure and fascination. The room held its breath. Every glance, every shift, every heartbeat was magnified. The persona was fully alive, dominant yet vulnerable, daring yet delicate. I realized then that nothing would ever feel the same. The thrill, the fear, the near discoveries, and the intoxicating transformation had merged into something irreversible. And as I caught the reflection in the mirror one more time, the heels grounding me, the dress swaying lightly, the wig perfectly in place, I knew the ultimate test, the true climax of suspense, exposure, and emotional transformation, was imminent. Every second from here on would define not just the night, but the persona that had claimed me. The room felt like it had shrunk to nothing. Every heartbeat echoed loudly in my ears, my heels pressing sharply into the floor with each trembling step. Mia and Leo's eyes were fixed on me, a mix of curiosity, shock, and something I couldn't quite name. Marco had quietly slipped out, leaving just the three of us in a charged, almost electric silence. The persona, bold, exposed, intoxicating, had taken full control, daring me to stand tall, to embrace the chaos. Then it happened. Mia's phone buzzed again, and she instinctively glanced at it, her attention momentarily diverted. I saw my opportunity, and simultaneously my danger. My reflection in the mirror seemed to flicker with life, almost whispering, now or never. I took a tentative step closer to Mia. "I need to show you something," I whispered, voice trembling yet commanding. The words hung in the air, thick with tension. Her eyes flicked up at me, a mixture of amusement and unease. "Show me what?" she asked cautiously. Before I could answer, a sudden movement from Leo caught my eye. He reached out, his hand brushing against the hem of the dress. My breath caught. The persona inside me surged, daring me to react, to assert control, to own this dangerous moment. I stepped closer, heels clicking sharply, the dress swaying with deliberate seduction. "Careful," I murmured, voice low, almost hypnotic. Mia's eyes widened. "Ethan, what are you?" she began, but the words faltered. The tension had escalated to an almost unbearable level. My reflection in the mirror held my gaze, eyes glittering with defiance, vulnerability, and daring. The persona was alive, commanding, and fully in control of every motion, every glance, every breath. Then, the revelation struck. A small, unassuming envelope slipped from my pocket onto the floor. It fluttered like a tiny, fragile butterfly, catching both Mia and Leo's attention. I froze. The envelope contained my diary, every detail of my transformation, my fears, my exhilaration, my experiments with cross-dressing. If they opened it, everything would be exposed. Mia bent to pick it up, her fingers brushing mine. My chest tightened. "Don't, please," I whispered, voice trembling but firm. Her eyes met mine, and in them, I saw a flicker of understanding, curiosity, and something daring. She hesitated, reading the tension in my body, the way the heels anchored me, the subtle sway of the dress, the wig perfectly framing my face. Leo leaned closer, his curiosity palpable. "What's in it?" he asked softly. The suspense was almost suffocating, every second stretching into eternity. I could feel my pulse in my temples, my fingers, my chest. The persona inside me throbbed, daring me to take the next step, to risk it all. I can't explain," I murmured, voice barely above a whisper. "Not yet." The reflection in the mirror mirrored my tension perfectly, bold, exposed, defiant, and trembling all at once. Every inch of me was alive with the intoxicating fear of discovery, the heady thrill of being caught, the sharp edge of vulnerability mingled with empowerment. Mia's gaze softened slightly, curiosity overtaking alarm. "You've been hiding this, experimenting, exploring why?" she asked. Her voice was gentle, probing, yet full of intrigue. I swallowed hard, adjusting the wig, smoothing the dress. "I wanted to see who I could be. Who I am when the world isn't watching," I admitted. The words were heavy, trembling with honesty and the raw energy of the persona. Leo's eyes widened, but he didn't move, didn't speak further. The suspense held, taut as a wire stretched to its limit. My reflection winked back from the mirror, bold, daring, unflinching. The persona had taken over completely, and the stakes were higher than ever. And then, the moment of true crisis. A sudden, sharp knock at the door made all three of us flinch. Mia's eyes flicked toward the sound, alarm and curiosity mixing in her expression. "Who could that be?" she murmured. My chest tightened, the heels threatening to betray me with every rapid heartbeat. The suspense was unbearable. Without thinking, I stepped toward the door, persona fully embodied, voice low but commanding. "I'll see." The reflection in the mirror stared back, daring me, pushing me to the brink. I opened the door, and there stood a neighbor, holding a package, entirely oblivious to the tension, oblivious to the transformation, oblivious to the secret storm raging inside the room. Relief and adrenaline collided in my chest, leaving me trembling, exhilarated, and fully alive. I closed the door slowly, my reflection showing a shiver of triumph and terror intertwined. The suspense hadn't vanished. It had transformed, sharpened, deepened. Every near discovery, every brush with exposure, every heartbeat racing in my chest had merged with the thrill of inhabiting this persona. The night, the secret, the transformation, they demanded to continue, to push further, to escalate into the ultimate climax. The tension in the room was electric, almost suffocating. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum, heels pressing sharply against the floor, the dress swaying with each careful step. Mia and Leo's eyes were locked on me, wide and unblinking, a mixture of fascination, shock, and unspoken questions. My reflection in the mirror stared back, bold, exposed, and unflinchingly alive. Then, the unexpected happened. Mia stepped closer, her fingers brushing mine as she picked up the diary envelope I had dropped earlier. The cool touch of her hand sent a jolt through me. My pulse spiked. "Don't let her open it," the persona whispered, every nerve tingling with fear and exhilaration. "Ethan, this is serious, isn't it?" she asked softly. Her voice carried curiosity, concern, and a hint of playfulness. I swallowed, gripping the edges of the dress, feeling the texture grounding me. "Yes, but I need you to understand. This is me," I murmured, my voice low but steady, carrying the daring confidence of the persona. Leo stepped back slightly, eyes wide, clearly unsure of what to do.
I don't know what to say," he admitted.
The suspense had reached a knife edge. Every second could shatter the fragile balance between exposure and secrecy. A sudden crash from the balcony startled us all. A trash can had toppled over in the wind. I swayed slightly in my heels, catching myself just in time, heart hammering. The mirror reflected the moment perfectly. Vulnerability and control intertwined, fear and thrill dancing on a razor's edge. Mia's gaze softened. "You're different. But I like this version of you," she admitted, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. Relief washed over me, but the suspense hadn't left. It had evolved, sharpened into something more potent. The persona was fully alive, and the risk of discovery only heightened the intensity. Then the final twist arrived. My phone buzzed on the counter. A message from my boss. "Need that report ASAP.
"Coming now."
Panic surged. I had a choice: reveal my secret to the world, or risk humiliation by showing up as myself and abandoning the persona I had fought to embody. My reflection in the mirror seemed to mock me, daring me to push the limits, to embrace the danger fully. I have to go," I whispered, the persona gripping me with a thrilling insistence. Mia's eyes widened. "Go? Like this?" she asked, voice trembling slightly. I nodded, adjusting the wig, smoothing the dress, heels clicking decisively. Every inch of me radiated boldness and vulnerability at once. Leo's hand brushed mine again, hesitant. "Are you sure?" His words hung in the air, heavy with suspense. I smiled faintly, the persona daring, confident, exposed. "I'm sure," I said, voice low but firm. As I stepped toward the door, the suspense reached its zenith. Every sound, the click of heels, the rustle of the dress, the soft intake of breath from Mia and Leo, was magnified. The mirror reflected every detail, every expression, every pulse of tension. I was on the precipice of revelation, the edge of daring, the brink of total exposure. Then, Mia spoke softly, almost a whisper, yet with undeniable weight. Be careful, or you might not come back the same. My reflection in the mirror caught the words, the warning, the thrill, and a shiver ran through me. The persona had claimed me fully, and there was no turning back. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway, each heel clicking decisively, the dress swaying with deliberate motion. The cool air of the evening hit me like a wave, exhilarating, terrifying, liberating. I was exposed, daring, alive. The suspense of the unknown stretched before me, the outside world, the possibility of discovery, the danger of ridicule, the intoxicating thrill of the persona fully embodied. And then, before I could take the first step into the world, I paused. The reflection of myself in the mirror by the hallway door caught my eye one last time. The bold, vulnerable, exhilarating persona stared back, daring me to continue, daring me to risk everything, daring me to see how far this transformation could go. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, each step weighted with possibility and peril. I knew that the night, the persona, and the suspense had only just begun. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional, psychological, irreversible. And as the door clicked shut behind me, leaving Mia and Leo behind, I realized with a shiver. Nothing would ever be the same. The cliffhanger hung in the air like a razor's edge, the persona alive, the secret teetering on exposure, and the thrilling, dangerous path ahead. Every viewer would be left wondering, will Ethan maintain the persona? Will Mia and Leo accept it? What will happen when the world sees this side of him? The hallway stretched endlessly before me, every echo of my heels sounding impossibly loud. Each step felt like a test, a daring gamble between exposure and survival. My reflection in the glass of the hallway door stared back, bold, defiant, and trembling all at once. The persona I had meticulously built over hours was alive now, pulsing through every inch of my body, demanding attention, daring me to risk everything. Outside, the night air hit my face, sharp and exhilarating, carrying the faint hum of the city. The thrill of danger coursed through me. Every shadow, every distant sound, every flicker of light heightened my senses. The world beyond my apartment was a maze of possibilities, of risk, of discovery. And I had no choice but to walk straight into it. Mia and Leo's faces lingered in my mind, their eyes wide with curiosity and subtle awe. Mia's whispered warning echoed, "Be careful, or you might not come back the same." The words wrapped around my thoughts, mingling with the adrenaline pounding in my veins. I realized then that the persona was no longer just a secret experiment. It was alive, demanding action, daring me to test its limits in the outside world. My phone buzzed again. Another message from my boss. "Where are you? The report is urgent." Panic surged, a sharp edge slicing through the exhilaration. I had to leave. But the thought of facing the outside world in full persona, the heels, the dress, the makeup, made my pulse spike further. Every fiber of my being screamed both fear and excitement. I stepped onto the street, heels clicking confidently on the pavement, swaying slightly with deliberate poise. The city lights reflected off wet asphalt from the earlier rain, glittering like stars at my feet. The night seemed alive, every shadow a potential threat, every passerby a possibility of discovery. I drew a deep breath, letting the persona carry me forward. Each step was intoxicating, vulnerable yet commanding, daring yet terrified. From the corner of my eye, I noticed a figure following. A man, indistinct at first, but gradually becoming clearer. My pulse surged. Was he just another passerby, or someone who could unravel everything? The persona didn't allow hesitation. I adjusted the wig, smoothed the dress, and pressed forward, each step both a defiance and an invitation to fate. I ducked into a side street, hoping to lose him, but the sound of footsteps echoed too closely. The tension was unbearable, the thrill of near discovery razor-sharp. My reflection in the glass windows lining the street caught my eye. Two versions of me, the ordinary Ethan behind the mask and the bold, daring persona fully alive. They merged in a dizzying, almost terrifying way. Suddenly, the man stepped into the light. It was Marco. Relief and panic collided. "I thought you might need backup," he said, voice low, eyes darting nervously. I couldn't help but laugh, a short, tense sound that carried both fear and exhilaration. The persona leaned into it, daring, playful, unstoppable. "We're not safe yet," I whispered, voice low, letting the persona speak through every syllable. "Every step, every glance, we can't be caught." Marco nodded, uncertainty still clouding his eyes, but something in my posture, my confidence, my daring gaze seemed to reassure him. Then, the sound of a car horn, a sharp, jarring note, made me flinch. Across the street, a vehicle slowed, someone inside staring in our direction. My heart lurched. The persona gripped me tighter, urging me forward, commanding me to keep moving, to stay alive in this thrilling, dangerous version of myself. I ducked behind a lamppost, adjusting the heels, smoothing the dress. The reflection in a nearby window caught my gaze again. This time, the persona smiled at me, mischievous, fearless, unflinching. The world outside was a stage, and I was performing, every heartbeat a drumbeat of suspense. "Are you okay?" Marco whispered, tension evident in his tone. I nodded, letting a small smile slip through, letting the persona speak. "Better than ever," I admitted. The thrill, the fear, the risk, they were intoxicating, making every nerve alive, every inch of me trembling with exhilaration. And then, the ultimate cliffhanger. Across the street, a figure stepped out from the shadows, moving toward us with deliberate, slow steps. I couldn't see the face yet, but the silhouette was unmistakable. Someone who could expose everything, someone who could shatter the delicate balance of secrecy and persona I had fought to maintain. My heels clicked sharply as I took a cautious step back. The persona urged me forward, bold, fearless, alive. My reflection in the window showed two versions of me again, the ordinary Ethan, terrified of exposure, and the daring persona, thriving on risk, vulnerability, and exhilaration. They merged, inseparable, unstoppable. The figure raised a hand, and in that instant, time seemed to freeze. Every heartbeat, every nerve, every shiver of fear and thrill converged. The suspense was unbearable, hanging like a razor's edge over the city street, over my life, over the persona that had claimed me. And then the screen would cut to black. Viewers would be left wondering, who is the figure? Will Ethan's secret be exposed? Will the persona survive? How far will he go to maintain this thrilling, dangerous transformation? The cliffhanger was complete, unresolved, intoxicating. Every viewer would be on edge, desperate to see what happens next, desperate to speculate, desperate to comment on the next chapter of a story where identity, fear, desire, and daring collide in an unforgettable transformation.